it's a bit brighter, and then this is a bit darker, as you can probably tell by the covers. So I'm probably going to start with the second book, this darker, and then I'll end on the happy note.
We all like a happy ending.
Yes. So let's start with one about death. Because why not?
There was a local poet that did a whole book about poems about death, Gaina Kane, Memory Forest.
Yes.
Her whole book is based around the grief theme. So, yeah.
So this one is called Death Stages, years 16 through 20. The first coffin I carried was my own, hopes and dreams, white for innocence, heavy for its loss. The second coffin I carried for too long, too deep inside me, ashes replacing the marrow of my breastbone. Mourning continued for years. Resurrection never did come easy. Grief has a slow death, giving way to all the wrong feelings, convincing me that the numbness of before was bliss. Finally, new skin, always shedding but warm to the touch. New life began with a scream.
So what sits behind that?
It was kind of focusing on kind of the juxtaposition between how, they say your teenage years are like the best ones of your life, and I think they were the worst ones of my life. I really struggled growing up, probably particularly in my teenage years, and it's just about that and how almost after that was a fresh start, when a lot of people are probably coming into their own, is when I decided, nope, let's just pretend all of that didn't happen, and we'll start again from here.
So it's a symbolic death of the teenage years.
Kinda, yeah, and then starting again. So let's see. From there, let's go to childhood home. Abandoned blood-coloured bricks still house my fear, but now I'm at a new address. The family tree wilts in the garden. Wind whistles through its branches, whispering, neglect, neglect, neglect. I no longer walk that overgrown path, and the gate hangs loose on its hinges, free to haunt itself. So that one's kind of about just leaving all that kind of negativity behind. Moving on, quite literally. Let's put a slightly happier one in the middle here. Bird song.
Bird song sounds cheerful.
Yes. This was written, I can't remember if it was after or during the Women Learn NI event in Dublin. So Women Learn NI is a local community of female writers. And gosh, I can't think how many members we were at one point. But
well over 100.
Yeah.
Mostly poets, not poets.
And we had a big day in Dublin. So I wrote that, I think, during this. Bright as shining pins, we paraded through the Dublin streets, pins working double time to keep up with the rest of the flock. Then, at the roost we gathered, more of us, a murmuration. Silence fell, we opened our beaks and sang.
Well, that's very nice. So what they did on Women Loud was they got everybody to, they started with each genre, and they got each person to read from their work. So they started with science fiction and fantasy, and there was two of us read, and then crime joined in, and then at the end the poetry joined in, and I just hit the roof. There was so many. And it was done in conjunction with the Irish Writers'
Yes.
Centre. So they did a whole day of reading between the women in the south and the women from the north who travelled down. We're in a room just doing, reading after reading. It was a lovely day.
It was.
Really nice.
It
Yeah.
was. Let's see.
Why did you do it as 2 volumes rather than 1?
Well, it was I initially planned for a single book, but I could not figure out how they all flowed together.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I had the idea to separate them that it made sense in my head. Just thematically. So this Linchpins it's kind of more of an overview. It's like snapshots of my work from a few years, and then Flinch really comes together with themes of like fairy tales, almost fairy tales. I'm better actually reading you. Poems that explore the line between personal mythologies, fairy tale, and brutal fact, and they all just kind of felt cohesive to me. So I put them together. I should actually read the title poem from this one if I can find it. This is Linchpins. Swiss Army wife. No cape, no mask, only tasks, maybe an apron. Unpaid like all good superheroes, multi-purpose like those scissors in that drawer. You know, the drawer for all the things you could ever need that don't quite fit anywhere else. String, shoelaces, sleep, and such. Those scissors stuffed away, far away at the back, are dull from many years of duty. Cutting time, food, corners, hair, clothes, and card. The universe would self-destruct if the pen ever managed to pull loose, but how long before anyone would notice? There's a little bit of sass in a few of these.
Just a little.
Just a little. Similarly, I wrote an ode to pockets.
Dresses with pockets.
See, I just have to say the title and all the women just automatically know what I mean. I stand at the bus stop and try not to think about my last appointment. Go to bury my hands in my pockets, but of course, there are none. No pockets, fake pockets, pockets that could only hold a tissue, and only just. The difference between a good dress and a great dress is pockets. Pockets are proof of forethought, evidence the designer got it or cared. I'm almost fooled into thinking the pockets are not generally cared about at all, but they would never be left out of a man's garment. Indeed, the men often get extra. Maybe that's where all the women's pockets go. Or maybe the pockets men have, that are twice the size and double in number, are an intended insult to us, are meant to rub in the fact that women are expected to carry so much.
That's good.
Let's go dark again.
It's quite nice feeling with the switch.
Yeah.
It's like a concert where there's too many melodies one after the other.
Let's see. Okay. This one is called Dark Days. I think I wrote this for Community Arts Partnership. They had a series of workshops. Darkness did not leave at dawn. In dusk all day we sat like clouds in a shroud above the ocean. Waves like ice licked the shore. Promises of death on the tongue. We flirted with it, then ran. You, my shadow friend, return at night. Lead me back to those lapping tides, to dance an inch from death. once more. So there's a real mix of like more heavy metaphor and more literal ones.
Which do you prefer writing?
It depends on the day of the week. It depends completely on my mood. This one, I think the inspiration is quite clear. It's called Tread. This house is old, the floorboards worn. They creakily announce you're being up before the message has fully reached your brain. It does something else to my brain. My pulse jumps and my mind runs off to things long gone, muscle memory in full force. Footsteps on the stairs, the sound of judgment and doom. The old house echoes, making light steps sound like stomps. My mind plays tricks. I turn to the door, expecting an angry parent with a ready word of reproach. But you're there. My heart stills, arms open. Morning, love. Hear me coming? I smile, pass the tea I have ready, press my lips to yours. The stairs seem to sigh in relief. I cast my eyes from the tread marks of uncaring steps upon my heart. Open it up to you, my man of gentle step.
That's right. And is that to anyone?
That's about Steve, my husband. We like Steve, he's a good egg.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where are we? Do we want one more from this, or we're skipping back?
It's up to you.
Don't make me make decisions. Okay. Next you'll be telling me I'm in charge here. Paper hands. Right back.
How much thought do you put into titles? I always wonder that about poems, you know.
A fair bit, yeah. I got I used an editor for some of these poems, and she suggested a couple of title changes, but for the most part, they've pretty much stayed. Like 90% of them stayed with the titles that it just seemed to fit at the time. So this is called Paper Hands. You hear about tennis elbow and swimmer's ear, but have you ever felt the hands of a poet? Touched the dry softness of skin that's had all its oils absorbed by journals and note cards, letters and books. Any available surface that would give or receive words, veins showing through papered skin in which the ink flows.
It's a nice image.
Yeah.
Well, it's a nice image, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's arresting,
Very
the idea of the, flowing ink.
I'll finish off with the dark ones in this, and then we'll go back to that. So okay, 26. This is a wee short one called The Moor. Barren land made of brown grass, teeming with life beneath the surface. You say the sun doesn't visit here, but how else do we see the fog?
Yeah. I quite like the dark ones.
Yes, that's what they don't sound too dark to me.
20, 30. This one is called Riptide. It's crazy how fast the tide turns, how the sky darkens, and a fun family day at the beach becomes isolation in an endless mass of grey, salt water in the lungs, a pressure on the heart. You cough and thrash, fight against the bonds you'd broken long ago, and which you hadn't noticed had slipped back on. Seaweed twisting around your ankle, your knee, your thigh, subtle, then suddenly tugging, dragging you down, pulling you under, churning your thoughts. You won't do it. With all your will, you push yourself, break the surface, resist the urge to try and reach the shore alone, knowing knowing in your rushing waters that you need the help you do not want. You scream as best you can, wave, try and trust that they're there, that they'll see you, and they do. Just as you become sure your last-ditch efforts were all for naught, hands appear under your armpits and pull, pull to the point of pain and then beyond. You're being wrapped in a towel, coughing up crustaceans for weeks after, but you're on dry land. You're on dry land, and the sea might once again call to you, might even one day claim you forever, but for now you're safe, you're alive, and you can breathe.
Get a lot of sea swimmers here.
I couldn't breathe there.
You go for the sea swimming? I
thought of that.
No, I look at them.
A paddle, yes.
There are definitely themes that I keep coming back to again, of which the next poem is called The Sea Gaze.
Okay.
And this one was inspired by a Mary Oliver poem.
Okay.
I know what prayer is. That summer was made by parents, by 3 months of saving island £1 notes, a ferry, a broken down car, and thumping feet on a fire escape in the small hours every night for a week. 50 pence pieces in the electric meter. I made a break for the sea, lifting my face towards the horizon, my full attention an offering, my entire being wishing to exchange my one precious life for that of a gull, a seahorse, starfish, or anything free. What else could I have done? Tell me I didn't feel death looming in every inch of my prepubescent skin. How else was I to be saved? That's how this book ends. And then I'll just...
And do you recommend reading that one first? Or you were saying this one here's the first one?
Depends on your mood.
Okay.
It depends completely on your mood. But I think even in the dark ones, a certain amount of hope can be found.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a reason that you go back, as you said, you know, the two of the poems there? Were,
Yeah.
is there a reason you go back to that, or you go back to that theme?
It's just what feels right.
Yeah.
A lot of poetry, for me, is just following my gut.
Mhm.
Like, I'll just be doing something, thinking something, and then I'll be like, oh, hang on, the sea is calling me. Which probably sounds a lot more profound than what it is.
You'll probably enjoy getting the train back up to Belfast then, because
Yeah.
you hug the sea for so
Yeah.
much of it.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. There's one here called Wonder to Look Up. How big is the sky? A child might ask. An adult might wonder too, but never voice. After all, they can look it up. As though glancing to the sky itself for answers, all the information hanging in the cloud. But they won't do it. They know this even as they put the thought away. It is enough to have the possibility of knowledge.
I am on silent, I'm sorry.
But I want to know how many stars there are. Want to know if anyone's figured it out yet. Being able to separate the ones that still shine from the ones whose light is only an echo of their past lives. I think the child wonderful for thinking to ask. Or to ask without thinking. And to think the adult, myself, foolish for not looking to the answer. But then I'd likely stop wondering, wouldn't that be worse? I look up, decide it would, and put my phone away. I'm just going to do a couple more. I have written a couple of poems over the years about pets I've had. So this is called Benji. I never talk about you anymore. and I'm shamed by my lack of grief. Maybe the years have dulled it. Maybe I packed up that hurt, and it's dusty but still intact, out of sight, out of mind. It seems your absence now is as unobtrusive as your presence used to be. Pardon me. So perhaps then it's fitting, perhaps treading gently from the life of a troubled child to somewhere off the map was your final service. Maybe your patience in waiting for my thoughts to return to you, gifting me time for me to be ready or able to miss you, was what a lonely adult needed. But now that I am whole, will you please come back? And I will end on Bolt.
Yeah, that should have been in French, because that made me so thinking about my dog.
There is some crossover between them. So for this one, I have a little quote at the start, and it comes from the QI Book of Facts. It says, the electrical energy that powers each cell in our bodies works out at 30 million volts per meter, the equivalent voltage of a bolt of lightning. So that I read that, and that inspired this poem. You're not weak-willed. You're not poorly. You are effervescent. Stardust holds your bones together. Sure, life is hard, but you face it. Things try to hold you down, but you won't be held forever. You're a firebolt, you are. Light and life flows in your veins, from every action and every thought. You are not dull. You are not deficient. In this lonely wasteland, you are the brightest thing for miles. And I will end it there.
I would just like to take one moment to say that was lovely, and I apologize for the time I got my fingers in the shot.
That's okay. You're fired.